Mrs. Simmons? Mrs. Simmons is my mother, but she has guest stuff. You want to? Oh, wait just a minute. Hang on just a minute. Mother! Mother!
Yes, dear? Telephone? Oh, no, dear. Not with all of them here. Say I'm busy. But Mother is the society editor of the Evening Newsweek. Oh, the society editor. She's very important. Good afternoon, Miss Ellerby. Yes, a tea and reception for the members of the Wednesday Forum. You might say, program tea. My mother, you know, the late Marcella Piney Dowd, pioneer cultural leader. She came here by off scheme as a child, and she founded the Wednesday Forum. Myrtle, how many would you say?
75 at least. Say 100.
75. Miss Tewksbury is the soloist, accompanied by Wilda McCurdy, accompanist.
Mother, come, Miss Tewksbury's almost finished with her number.
She'll do an encore.
Well, what if they don't give her a lot of applause?
I've known her for years. She'll do an encore. You might say that I am entertaining, assisted by my daughter, Miss Myrtle May Simmons. What color would you call that?
Rancho Rose, they told me.
Miss Myrtle May Simmons looked charming in modish Rancho Rose tone crepe, picked up at the girdle with a touch of magenta on emerald. I wish you could see her, Miss Ellerby.
Mother, please, she's almost finished. And where's the cateress?
Everything's ready. The minute she's finished singing, we open the dining room doors and we begin to work. The parlors and halls are festooned with smilax. Yes, festooned. That's right. Yes, Miss Ellerby. This is the first party we've had in years. There is a reason, but I don't want it in the papers. We all have our troubles, Miss Ellerby. The guest list. Oh, yes.
Mother, come.
If you'll excuse me now, Miss Ellerby, I'll call you later.
Mother, Mrs. Chauvenet just came in.
Mrs. Eugene Chauvenet Sr. Her father was a scout with Buffalo Bill.
So that's where she got that hat.
Myrtle, you must be nice to Mrs. Chauvenet. She has a grandson about your age.
What difference will it make with Uncle Elwood?
Myrtle, remember, we agreed not to talk about that this afternoon. The point of this whole party is to get you started. We work through those older women to the younger group.
We can't have anyone here in the evenings, and that's when the men come to see you, in the evenings. The only reason we can even have a party this afternoon is because Uncle Elwood is playing pinochle down at the 4th Avenue Firehouse. Thank God for the firehouse.
I know, but they'll just have to invite you out and it won't hurt them one bit. Oh, Myrtle, you've got so much to offer. I don't care what anyone says, there's something sweet about every young girl. And a man takes that sweetness, and look what he does with it. But you've got to meet somebody, Myrtle, that's all there is to it.
If I do, they say, that's Myrtle May Simmons. Her uncle is L.P. Dowd, the biggest screwball in town. L.P. Dowd and his promise. All right, let's get them into the dining room.
And now, when the members come in here and you do your little welcome speech on behalf of your grandmother, be sure to do this.
And then after that, I'll mention my Uncle Elwood and say a few words about his pal Harvey. Damn Harvey!
Myrtle May. That's right. Let everybody in the Wednesday Forum hear you. You said that name, you promised you wouldn't say that name, and you said it.
I'm sorry, Mother, but how do you know Uncle Elwood will come in here and introduce Harvey to everyone?
This is unkind of you, Myrtle May. Elwood is the biggest heartache I have. Even if people do call him peculiar, he is still my brother. And he won't be home this afternoon.
Are you sure?
Of course I'm sure.
But, Mother, why can't we live like other people?
Must I remind you again? Elwood is not living with us. We are living with him.
Living with him and Harvey? Did Grandmother know about Harvey?
I've wondered and wondered that. She never wrote me if she did.
Why did you have to leave all her property to Uncle Elwood?
Well, I suppose it was because she died in his arms. People are sentimental about things like that.
You always say that, and it doesn't make any sense. She couldn't make out her will after she died, could she?
Don't be didactic, Myrtle May. It's not becoming in a young girl, and men loathe it. Now, don't forget to wave your hand.
I'll do my best.
Oh, dear, Miss Tewksbury's voice is certainly fading.
But not fast enough.
Lovely Miss Tewksbury, perfect
Excuse me, ma'am. I have to answer the phone. Make yourself comfortable, Harvey. Hello. Oh, you've got the wrong number. But how are you anyway? This is Elwood T. Down speaking. I'll do. Well, thank you. And what is your name, my dear? Miss Elsie Greenwald. Harvey, it's a Miss Elsie Greenwald. How are you today, Miss Greenwald? Oh, that's fine. Yes, my dear, I would be happy to join your club. I belong to several clubs now. The University Club, the Country Club, the Pinnacle Club down at Fourth Avenue Firehouse. I spend a good deal of my time there, or at Charlie's place, or over at Eddie's bar. Oh, and what is your club, Miss Greenwald? Harvey, I get the Ladies' Home Journal, Good Housekeeping, and the Open Road for Boys for 2 years for $6.25. That sounds fine to me. I'll join it. And how does it sound to you, Harvey? Harvey says it sounds fine to him as well. Yep, he says he'll join too. Yes, 2 subscriptions. Send everything to this address. I hope I have the pleasure of meeting you sometime, my dear. Harvey, she says she would like to meet me. When? When would you like to meet me, Miss Greenwald? Why not right now? My sister seems to be having a few friends in, and we would consider it an honor if you would come and join us. My sister will be delighted. 343 Temple Drive. I hope to see you in a very few minutes, my dear. Goodbye. She's coming right over. Harvey, don't you think we'd better freshen up? Yeah, so do I.
I can't seem to remember where I put that guest list. I must read it to Miss Ellerby. Have you seen it, Mr. Johnson?
No, I haven't, Miss Simmons.
Look on my dresser.
Mother, Mrs. Chauvenet, she's asking for you. Here she is, Mrs. Chauvenet. Here's Mother.
Vito, Miss Simmons, I thought you were dead. It's Ethel. Oh no, there's one lie. It is full-grown girl is your daughter. I've known you since you were a baby.
I know.
What's her name, dear? This is Myrtle, Aunt Ethel. Myrtle May, for the 2 sisters of her father. He's dead. That's what confused you. Where's Elwood? He can be here. Now, Aunt Ethel, let me get you some tea. Elwood isn't here. No. Oh, shame on him. That was the main reason I came. I want to see Elwood. Come, there are loads of people anxious to speak to you. Do you realize, Vita? It's been years since I've seen Elwood. No. Where does the time go? But I don't understand it. I was saying to Mr. Chauvenet only the other night. What on earth do you suppose has happened to Elwood Dowd? He never comes to the club meetings anymore. I haven't seen him at a horse show in years. So would see anybody these days, Vita? Oh, yes, Aunt Ethel. Elwood sees somebody.
Oh, yes.
Your Uncle Elwood, child, is one of my favorite people. Always has been. Yes, I remember. Is Elwood happy, Vita? Elwood is very happy, Aunt Ethel. You don't need to worry about Elwood. Why? There, Mrs. Graham Cummings just came in. Don't you want to speak to her? Why? But she looks ghastly. Hasn't she failed, though? If you think she looks badly, you should see him. Is that so? I must have him over. She looks frightful. I thought she was dead. Oh, no. Now, what about tea, Vita? Certainly. If you do forgive me, I will precede you. Elwood! Elwood Dowd, bless your heart!
Aunt Ethel, what a pleasure to come in and find a beautiful woman waiting for me.
Elwood, you haven't changed. Come along, Aunt Ethel. You must have missed the party. There's punch if you don't like tea. But I do like tea. Stop pulling at me, you two. Elwood, what night next week can you come to dinner?
Any night at all, Aunt Ethel. I would be delighted.
There's some mail for you today. I took it up to your room.
Did you, Vita? That was nice of you. Aunt Ethel, I want you to meet Harvey. Well, as you can see, he's a cool guy. Harvey, you've heard me speak of Mrs. Chauvenet. We always called her Aunt Ethel. She is one of my oldest and dearest friends. Yes, that's right. She's the one. This is the one. He says he would have known you anywhere. You both look lovely. Come on in with me, Harvey. We must say hello to all of our friends. I beg your pardon, Aunt Ethel. If you'll excuse me just one moment, you're standing in his way. Come along, Harvey. Go right on in, Harvey. I'll join you in a minute. Aunt Ethel, I can see that you're disturbed about Harvey. But please, don't be. He stares like that at everyone. It's his way. But he liked you. I can tell. He liked you very much.
Some tea, perhaps. Not right now. I think I'll be running along. I'm so sorry. I'll be talking with you later. Goodbye. Goodbye. Oh, God. Oh, my God! Where are you going?
Up to my room. He's introducing Harvey to everyone. I can't face these people now. I wish I were dead.
Stay with me. We'll get him out of there and upstairs to his room.
I won't do it. I can't.
Now, pretend I'm fixing your poor sock. Oh, Mother, we've got to. Pretend we're having a gay little chat. Keep looking. When you catch his eye, tell me. He always comes when I call him. And now then, do you see him yet?
No, not yet. How do you do, Mrs. Cummings?
Smile, can't you? Have you not cried? I'm smiling and he's my own brother.
Oh, Mother, people get run over by trucks every day. Why can't something like that happen to Uncle Elwood?
Colonel Miss Simmons, I'm ashamed of you. This thing is not your uncle's fault.
Ouch, you're sticking with that pin.
But that's Miss Ellaby. Keep looking, keep smiling.
Mrs. Cummings is leaving. He must have told her where Harvey is.
Hello, this is Mrs. Simmons. Should you come in the clothes you have on? What have you on? Who is this? But I don't know any Miss Greenwald. Should you what? May I ask who invited you? Mr. Dowd. Thank you just the same, but I believe there's been a mistake. Well, I never what? One of your Uncle Elwood's friends. She asked me if she should bring a quart of gin to the Wednesday Forum.
There he is. He's talking to Mrs. Halsey.
Is Harvey with him?
What a thing to ask. How can I tell? How can anybody tell about Uncle Elwood?
Oh, Elwood, could I see you a moment, dear? I promise you, your Uncle Elwood has disgraced us for the last time in this house. I'm going to do something I've never done before.
What did you mean before when you said it wasn't Uncle Elwood's fault? If it's not his fault, whose fault is it then?
Never you mind. I know whose fault it is. Now, lift up your head and smile and go back in as though nothing happened.
You're no match for Uncle Elwood.
You'll see.
Mother's waiting for you.
Elwood, can I see you a moment, dear?
Yes, sister. Excuse me, Harvey.
Elwood, would you mind sitting down in here and waiting for me until the party's over? I want to speak to you. It's very important.
Of course, sister. I happen to have a little free time now. You're welcome to all of it, Vita. Would you like Harvey to wait too?
Yes, Elwood. I certainly do.
Jane Austen. Sit down, Harvey. Vita wants to talk to us. She said it was important. I think she wants to congratulate us on the impression we made at the party. Jane Austen. Deluxe edition. Limited. Russet and donut. The usual acknowledgements. Chapter 1.
Mrs. O.R. Simmons, 343 Temple Drive. Is that right?
We were born and raised there. It's old, but we love it. It's our home.
And you wish to enter your brother here for treatment at the sanitarium. Your brother's name?
It's... Oh!
Mrs. Simmons, please, what is your brother's name?
I'm sorry. Life is not easy for any of us. I'll have to hold my head high and go on just the same. That's what I keep telling Myrtle, and that's what Myrtle May keeps telling me. She's heartbroken about her uncle, Elwood. Elwood P. Dowd, that's it.
Elwood P. Dowd. His age?
47, the 24th of last April. He's Taurus the bull. I'm Leo, and Myrtle is on the cusp.
47. Is he married?
No. Elwood has never married. He stayed with Mother. He was always a great homeboy. He loved his home.
And do you have him with you now?
He's in a taxi cab down in the driveway. I gave the driver $1 to watch him, but I didn't tell the man why. You can't tell these things to perfect strangers.
Mr. Wilson, would you begin to step down to the driveway and ask Mr. Dowd if he could come up to room number 24, South Main G?
Ask him?
This is his sister, Mrs. Simmons.
Why, certainly. I'll be glad to school.
Thank you.
The rates here, Mrs. Simmons, you'll find them printed on this card.
That will all be taken care of by my mother's estate. The link to Marcella Piney Dowd. Judge Gaffney is our attorney. Okay, well,
I'll see if Dr. Sanderson can see you.
Dr. Sanderson? I want to see Dr. Chumley himself.
Oh, Mrs. Simmons, you're mistaken. Dr. Sanderson is the one who sees everyone. Dr. Chumley sees no one.
He's still head of this institution, isn't he? He's still a psychiatrist, isn't he?
Still a psychiatrist, Mrs. Simmons. Dr. Chumley is a psychiatrist with a nationwide reputation. Whenever people have mental breakdowns, they at once think of Dr. Chumley.
That's his office, isn't it? Well, you march right on in there and tell him I want to see him. If he knows who's in here, he'll come out here.
Well, I wouldn't dare do that, Mrs. Simmons. I'd be discharged if I did.
Well, I don't like to be pushed off onto any second fiddle.
Dr. Sanderson's no second fiddle. He's young, of course. He hasn't been out of med school very long, but Dr. Shumley tried out 12, and he kept Dr. Sanderson. He really is wonderful. To the patients.
Very well. Tell him I'm here.
Right away, Mrs. Simmons.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Isn't this wonderful?
Mrs. Simmons?
I didn't hear you come in. You startled me. You're Dr. Sanderson?
Yes, will you be seated, please?
Thank you. I hope you don't think I'm jumpy like that all the time, but
Of course not. Miss Kelly tells me that you were concerned about your brother. Dow, is it LMP Dow?
Yes, Doctor. This isn't easy for me, Doctor.
Naturally, these things aren't easy for the families of patients. I understand.
It's what Elwood is doing to himself, Doctor. That's the thing. Myrtle May has a right to nice friends. She's young and her whole life is before her. That's my daughter.
Your daughter. Now, how long would you say it's been since you began to notice any peculiarity in your brother's actions?
I noticed it right away. When Mother died and Myrtle May and I came back home from Des Moines to live with Elwood. I could see that he...
That he what? Take your time, Mrs. Simmons. Don't strain. Let it come. I'll wait.
Doctor, everything I say to you is confidential, isn't it?
That's understood.
Because it's a slap in the face to everything we stood for in this community, the way Elwood's acting now.
I'm not a gossip, Mrs. Simmons. I'm a psychiatrist.
Well, for one thing, he drinks.
To excess?
To excess? Well, don't you call it excess when a man never lets a day go by without stepping into one of those cheap taverns, sitting around with riffraff and people you've never heard of, inviting them to the house, playing cards with them, giving them food and money. And here I am trying to get Myrtle May started with a nice group of young people. If that isn't excess, I'm sure I don't know what excess is.
I didn't doubt your statement, Mrs. Simmons. I merely asked if your brother drinks.
Well, yes, I said, definitely, Elwood drinks. And I want him committed out here permanently because I cannot stand another day without Harvey. Myrtle May and I have to set a place at the table for Harvey. We have to move over on the sofa to make room for Harvey. We have to answer the telephone when Elwood calls and ask to speak to Harvey. And then at the party this afternoon with Mr. Chauvenet there. Oh, we didn't even know anything about Harvey until we came out here. Doctor, don't you think it would have been a little kinder of Mother to have written and told us about Harvey? Be honest now, don't you?
I really couldn't answer that question.
Well, I can. Yes, it certainly would have.
This person you call Harvey, who is he?
He's a rabbit.
Perhaps, but just who is he? Some companion? Someone your brother has picked up in these bars of whom you disapprove?
Doctor, I've been telling you, Harvey is a rabbit. A big, white rabbit, 6 feet high. Or is it 6 feet and a half? Heaven knows, I ought to know. He's been around the house long enough.
Now let me understand this, Mrs. Simmons. You said...
Do I have to keep repeating myself? My brother insists that his closest friend is this big white rabbit. This rabbit is named Harvey. Harvey lives at our house. Don't you understand? He and Elwood go every place together. Elwood buys railroad tickets, theater tickets for the both of them. As I told Myrtle May, if your uncle was so lonesome, he had to bring something home. Why didn't he bring home something human? He has me, doesn't he? He has Myrtle May, doesn't he? Doctor, I'm going to tell you something I've never told anyone in the world before. Every once in a while, I see that big white rabbit myself. Now, isn't that terrible? I've never even told Myrtle May.
Mrs. Simmons.
He's every bit as big as Elwood says he is.
Grief over your mother's death depressed you considerably?
Nobody knows how much.
Losing sleep?
How can anybody sleep with that going on?
Short-tempered over trifles?
You just try living with those two and see how your temper holds up.
Losing appetite?
And nobody could eat at a table with my brother and a big white rabbit. Well, I'm finished with it. I'll sell the house, be appointed conservator of Elwood's estate, and Myrtle May and I can entertain our friends in peace. It's too much, Doctor. I just can't stand it.
Of course, Mrs. Simmons. Of course, you're tired.
Oh, yes, I am.
You've been worrying a great deal.
Yes, I have. I can't help it.
And now I'm going to help you.
Oh, Doctor.
Just sit there quietly, Mrs. Simmons. I'll be right back.
I'll just go down to the cab and get Elwood's things.
Why did somebody answer that buzzer?
I didn't hear you, Doctor.
I rang! Mrs. Simmons sat without motion. That poor woman must not leave the grounds.
She's been with the getaway, huh, Doc?
Her condition is serious. Go after her.
Oh, I can't believe this.
Main gate. Henry. Dr. Saracen. Henry, allow no one out of the main gate. We have a patient on the loose. I shouldn't have left her alone, but nobody answered the buzzer.
Wilson was in South, Doctor.
What have you available, Miss Kelly?
Number 13 up Westman's ready, Doctor.
Have her taken there immediately, and I will prescribe her treatment. I must contact her brother. Down is the name. I will be down. Get him on the telephone for me, will you, please?
But, Doctor, the woman said the treatment was for her brother.
Of course she did. It's the oldest dodge in the world. Always used by a cunning type of psychopath. Apparently she knew her brother was about to commit her, so she came out to discredit her. Where'd you get her on the telephone?
But, Doctor, I thought the woman was telling the truth. So I had Wilson take the brother up to room number 24. He's there now.
You had Wilson take the brother up? No gags, Miss Kelly, you're not serious, are you?
Oh, I did, Doctor, I did. Oh, Doctor, I'm terribly sorry.
Oh, well then if you're sorry, that fixes everything. Damn woman.
I'll do it, Doctor, I'll do it. Mrs. Dunphy, would you open the door to number 24, give Mr. Down his clothes, and...
Ask him to step down to the office right away.
Ask him to step down to the office right away. This has been a terrible mistake, and Dr. Sanderson wants to explain.
Explain, apologize.
She hadn't put him in the hydrotub yet. She'll let him out.
Beautiful. And dumb, too. It's almost too good to be true.
Look, Doctor, I feel terrible. I didn't know. Judge Gaffney called and said Mrs. Simmons and her brother would be down here, and then she came in and... You don't have to be sarcastic.
Oh, don't I? Stop worrying, Kelly. We'll squirm out of it some way.
Where are you going?
I've got to tell the chief about this, Kelly. He may want to handle it himself.
No, you can't do that. He'll be furious. I know he will. He'll die, and then he'll terminate me.
Responsibility is on mine, Kelly.
No, Doctor, tell him it was all my fault.
I never mentioned your name. Except in my sleep.
But this man, Dow...
Don't let him get away. I'll be right back.
But what shall I do? What shall I say to him? He'll be furious. I know he will.
Look, Kelly, he'll probably be fit to be tied. But he's a man, isn't he?
I guess so. His name's Mr.
Go into your old routine. You know, the eyes, the switch. The works. I'm immune. I've seen it work on some other people. Some of the patients out here. Keep him here, Kelly. If you have to do restrict use.
Oh, you're wonderful, Dr. Sanderson. You're the most wonderful person I've ever met in my life.
Yeah? But how about giving me a lift here just the same?
What?
That's Simmons' name.
Did you catch her?
Slick as a whistle. She was coming along the path in the woods. I jumped out of behind the tree and I says, Sister, there's a man that wants to see you. You should have heard it yet. She's wacky, alright.
Okay, well, take her number 13.
She's there now. I brought her into the dining kitchen. She was kicking and screaming like hell. Tell you what, though. I'll hold it down if you come on the present.
Not so fast, Wilson. Dr. Sanderson told me to stay here until her brother came back.
Make it snappy.
Oh, excuse me. You're Mr. Dow?
LP.
I'm Miss Kelly.
Let me give you one of my cards. If you should want to call me at this number. Don't call me at that. That's the number.
Well, okay, thank you.
Perfectly all right. And if you lose it, don't worry, my dear. I have plenty more.
Won't you please be seated?
Oh, thank you. I'll have 2 seats. Allow
Okay, well, Dr. Sanderson will see you in a minute. Please, sit down.
me. After you, my dear.
Oh, I really can't. Thank you, but I'm in and out of here all the time. Please, sit down.
After you.
Okay, then. Well, would you like to have a magazine to look at while you wait?
I would much rather look at you, Miss Kelly, if you don't mind. You really are very lovely.
Oh, well, thank you. Some people don't seem to think so.
Some people are blind. That is often brought to my attention. And now, Miss Kelly, I would like to have you meet a very dear
Mr. Dow?
LP. Let me give you one of my cards. If you should.
Mr. Dow, I'm Dr. Bob Sanderson, Dr. Chumley's assistant out here.
Well, good for you. I'm happy to know you, Doctor. How are you?
That's going to depend on you, I'm afraid. Please sit down. You've met Miss Kelly, Mr. Dow.
I have had that pleasure, and I would like you both to meet a very
Later
dear.
on. Be glad to. Please have a seat, because first I would like to say...
After Miss Kelly.
Sit down, Kelly. Is that chair quite comfortable, Mr. Dow?
Yes, thank you. Would you care to try it?
No, thank you. How about an ashtray? Can we get Mr. Dow an ashtray? Is it too warm in here for you, Mr. Dow? Would you like me to open the window?
Mr. Dow, Dr. Sanderson wants to know if he should open the window.
Well, that's entirely up to him. I wouldn't presume to live his life for him.
Now then, Mr. Dow, I can see that you're not the type of person to be taken by any high-flown phrases reading about the bush.
Oh, is that so, Doctor?
You have us at a disadvantage here. You know it, we know it. Let's lay the cards on the table.
That certainly appeals to me, Doctor.
Best way to go in the long run. People are people, no matter where you go.
That is very often the case.
And being human, are therefore liable to make mistakes. Miss Kelly and I have made a mistake out this afternoon, Dow, and we'd like to explain it to you.
It wasn't Dr. Sanderson's fault, Mr. Dow. It was all mine.
Human failing, as I said.
I find it very interesting, nevertheless. You with Miss Kelly here? This afternoon, you said?
We do hope you'll understand, Mr. Dow.
Oh, yes. Yes, these things are often the basis of a long and warm friendship.
And the responsibilities, of course, not hers, but mine.
Your attitude may be old-fashioned, Doctor, but I like it.
Now, if I had seen your sister first, this would have been an entirely different story.
Now, there, you surprise me, Doctor. I think the world and all of Vita, but I suppose she had seen her day.
You must not attach any blame to her. She's a very supportive. Came in here insisting you were in need of treatment. It's perfectly ridiculous.
Vita shouldn't be upset about me. I get along fine.
Exactly, but she had already talked to Miss Kelly and received a call from your family lawyer, Judge Gaffney.
Oh, yes, I know him. Know his wife, too. Nice people.
Can I get you something, Mr. Dow?
What did you have in mind?
A letter. Let me give you a letter. Your sister was extremely nervous and immediately plunged into a heated tirade on your drinking.
That was Vita.
She became hysterical.
I tell Vita not to worry about that. I'll take care of that.
Exactly. Oh, I suppose you have a drink now and then, same as the rest of us?
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, I would like one right now.
Matter of fact, so would I. But your sister's reaction to the matter of your drinking was entirely too intense. Does your sister drink, Mr. Dow?
Oh, no. No, I don't believe Vita has ever taken a drink.
Well, then I'm going to surprise you. I believe that she has, and does, constantly.
I'm certainly surprised.
But it's not her alcoholism that's going to be the basis for my diagnosis in this case. It was when she began speaking so emotionally about this big white rabbit. Harvey. I believe she called him Harvey.
Harvey is his name.
She claimed you were persecuting her with this Harvey.
I haven't been persecuting her with Harvey. Vita shouldn't feel that way. And And now, doctor, before we go any further,
Let me make my point first. This condition of your sister's didn't come up overnight. It stems from trauma.
from what?
From trauma, spelled T-R-A-U-M-A. It means shock. Nothing unusual about it. There's, of course, the birth trauma, the shock to the act of being born.
That's the one we never played over.
You have a nice sense of humor, doesn't he, Miss Kelly?
Yes, Doctor.
Oh, may I say the same about both of you?
To sum it all up, your sister's condition is serious. I can help her, but she must remain out here temporarily.
I've always wanted Vita to have everything she needs.
Exactly.
But I wouldn't want Vita to stay out here unless she liked it out here and wanted to stay here.
Did Wilson get what he was going after, Miss Kelly?
Yes, Doctor.
What was Mrs. Simmons' attitude?
Not unusual, Doctor.
Now then, Mr. Dow, if this had been an ordinary delusion, something reflected on the memory picture. In other words, if this had been something she had seen once, that would be one story. This is far more serious. It stands to reason that nobody has ever seen a white rabbit 6 feet tall.
Not very often, Doctor.
I like you, Dow.
I like you too, Doctor. And Miss Kelly here. I like her too.
So she must be committed out here temporarily. Under these circumstances, I would commit my own grandmother.
Is your grandmother drink too?
It's just an expression, Dow. Now, if I could have you sign these temporary commitment papers as next of kin, just a formality.
You better have Vita do that, Doctor. She always does all the signing and managing for the family. She's good at it.
We can't disturb her now.
Perhaps I'd better talk it over with Judge Gaffney.
You can explain it all to me later. Tell him I asked it. And is it as if you couldn't come in here anytime you wanted? Flat time. When would you like to come back? Make out a visitor's pass for you. Wednesday, Friday?
You and Miss Kelly have been so pleasant, I can come back right after dinner. About an hour.
Well, we're pretty busy around here, but I guess that's all right.
I don't really have to go now. I'm not very hungry.
Glad to have you stay, but Miss Kelly and I have to go upstairs now. Plenty of work to do. But I'll tell you what we might like to do.
What might I like to do?
We don't usually do this, but just to make sure you mind that your sister is in good hands, why don't you have a look around? If you go up those stairs and down the hallway, you'll find the occupational therapy room. Then if you take a left, you'll find the library, the conservatory, and the diet kitchen.
Perhaps for Vita's sake, I better do that, Doctor.
Very well then. It's been a great pleasure to have this little talk with you, Mr. Dowd.
I've enjoyed it too, Doctor. Meeting you and Miss Kelly.
And I will say that for a layman, you show an unusually acute perception in the psychiatric problems.
Is that a fact? I never thought I knew anything about it. Nobody does. Do you think?
Well, a good psychiatrist is not found under every bush.
You have to pick the right bush. Since we all seem to have enjoyed this so much, let's keep right on. I would like to invite you to come with me now down to Charlie's place and have a drink. When I enjoy people, I like to stay right with them.
Sorry, we're on duty right now. Give us a ring check some other time. Flat.
When?
Well, Miss Kelly and I don't get off until 10 o'clock at night, so...
Well, let's go to Charlie's at 10 o'clock tonight. And you, Miss Kelly?
Dr. Chumley doesn't approve of members of the staff fraternizing. But since you've been so understanding, perhaps you can manage it.
I'll pick you up out here in a cab at 10 o'clock tonight, and the four of us will spend a happy evening. I want you both to become acquainted with a very dear friend of mine. You said later on, so later on it'll be. Goodbye now.
Well, I can finally breathe again.
Boy, that was a close shave, all right. But he was pretty reasonable. He was proud. What he has to be proud of, I don't know. But I played up to that pride. You can get to almost anybody if you want to. Now I must go check in on that Simmons woman.
Doctor, you said that you could get to anyone if you wanted to? How do you do that?
To study, Kelly, years of specialized training. You know, there's only one thing I don't like about this guy.
What's that?
Having to make that date with him. Of course, he's left here as a good friend and a booster of his hands here. So I guess I'll have to go with it, but you don't have to.
Oh.
Nothing about it. I'll go with him, have a drink, pat him on the back, and leave. I've got a date tonight anyways.
Oh! Yeah, by all means. I didn't intend to go anyways. The idea of boarding is stiff. I wouldn't go if it's the last thing I can do on this earth. I wouldn't go if it's the only thing I can do on this earth.
What's the matter with you, Kelly? What are you getting so emotional about?
He may have been a funny man with killer clothes, but he His manners were impeccable.
I saw you giving him the dolphin stare. I mean, his dad.
He wouldn't sit down till I sat down. He said I was lovely and he called me dear. I will have a date with him if you want one.
Sure you would. And look at it. All he does is hang around in bars. He doesn't work. All that going bowing and getting up out of his chair every time a woman makes a move. Why? He's as outdated as a cast iron deer. But you'd sit with him in a bar and let him flatter you. You're a wonderful girl, Kelly.
Oh, now, listen here.
Dr. Sanderson? Miss Kelly?
Yes,
Doctor? Tell the governor to prove more carefully around my prize dollars and defense by the main road. They'll be ready for cutting next week. The difficulty of the woman with the large white rabbit, has it been smoothed over?
Yes, Doctor. I spoke to her brother and he was quite reasonable.
Wow, I've had many patients who have seen animals. I've never had a patient with an animal that large.
Yet, Doctor, she called him Harvey.
Harvey? Unusual name for an animal of any kind. Harvey is a man's name. I've met many men in my day named Harvey, but I've never met an animal of any kind whatsoever with that name. This case has an interesting phase, Doctor.
Yes, Doctor.
I will not go upstairs with you, but look in on this one. It may be that we can use my phone with a 977 number. I will give you my advice and prescribe the treatment, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
And now, may I ask, what is that hat doing on the table? Whose is it?
I don't know. Do you know Miss Kelly was at Dow's?
No, Doctor. Dad had his hat on. It could belong to a relative of one of the patients.
Hand me the hat. There may be some kind of identification. What's this? 2 holes cut in the crown of this hat, see?
That's strange.
Some new fad. Hang it up, put it away, get it out of here.
Dr. Chumley!
Oh, there you are.
How's every little old thing?
Fair, thank you, Wilson, fair.
Look, somebody's got to give me a hand with that Simmons thing. Order a restraining jacket or something. I mean, she's terrible. There you are. Forgot about me, didn't you? Well, I want a corset all by myself.
We're going upstairs to see this woman right now, Wilson.
She's in a microphone now. My God, I left water running on her.
Willie! Remember your promise! Hello, Dr. Sanderson. Willie, you haven't forgotten Dr. McClure's cocktail party? We promised them faithfully.
That's right. I have to go up now and check in on the patient. Be down shortly.
Give a quick little diagnosis, Willie. We don't want to be late to the party. I'm dying to see the inside of that house. Good evening.
Good evening.
I am Mrs. Chumley, Dr. Chumley's wife.
I'm happy to know that. Dow is my name, LLP. Let me give you one of my cards. If you should want to call me at this one. Don't call me at that one because that's the old one.
Thank you. Is there something I can do for you?
What did you have in mind?
You seem to be looking for someone.
Yes, I'm looking for Harvey. I went off without him.
Harvey, is he a patient here?
Oh, no, nothing like that.
Or does he work here?
Oh, no, he is what you might call my best friend. He's also a puka. He came out here with me and Vita this afternoon.
Where was he when you last saw him?
In that chair there with his hat and coat on the table.
There doesn't appear to be any happen coming around right now. Perhaps he left?
Apparently. I don't see him anywhere.
What was that word you just said? Puka?
Yes, that's it.
Is that something new?
Oh, no. As I understand it, that's something very old.
Really? I never happened to hear it before.
I'm not too surprised at that. I hadn't myself until I met him. I do hope you get the opportunity to meet him. I'm sure he would be quite taken with you.
Really? Well, that's very nice of you to say so, I'm sure.
Not at all. If Harvey happens to take a liking to someone, he expresses himself quite definitely. If not, he just lies there like an empty chair or an empty space on the floor. Harvey takes his time making his mind up about people. Choosy, you see.
That's not such a bad way to be in this day and age.
Harvey is very fond of my sister, Vita. That's because he's fond of me. Vita and I come from the same family. And I would think that feeling would be mutual, wouldn't you? But Vita doesn't seem to care for Harvey. Don't you think that's rather too bad, Mrs. Chumley?
Oh, I don't know, Mr. Dowd. I gave up a long time ago expecting my family to like my friends. It's useless.
But we must keep on trying.
There's no harm in trying, I suppose.
Because if Harvey has said to me once, he has said to me 1,000,000 times, Mr. Dowd, I would do anything for you. Mrs. Chumley,
yes.
Did you know that Mrs. McElhinney's Aunt Rose is going to drop in on her unexpectedly tonight from Cleveland?
I know, I didn't.
Oh, neither does she. That puts you both in the same boat, doesn't it?
Well, I don't know anybody named
Mrs. McElhinney lives next door to us. She is a wonderful woman. Harvey told me about her Aunt Rose. That's an interesting little news item, and you are perfectly free to pass it on.
Well,
would you care to come into town with me now, my dear? I would be glad to buy you a drink.
Thank you, but I'm waiting for Dr. Chumley, and if he came down here and found me gone, he'd be liable to raise. He'd be irritated.
We wouldn't want that, would we? Some other time, maybe.
I'll tell you what I'll do, however.
What will you do, however? I'm interested.
If your friend comes in while I'm still here, I'd be glad to give him a message for you.
Would you do that? I would certainly appreciate that.
Oh, no trouble at all. I'll write it down on the back of this. What would you like me to say if he comes in?
Tell him to meet me downtown, if he has no other plans.
Meet Mr. Dowd downtown. Any particular place downtown?
He knows where. Harvey knows this town like a book.
Harvey, you know where Harvey what?
Just Harvey.
I'll tell you what.
What?
Doctor and I are going right downtown to 12th and Longview. Dr. McClure is having a cocktail party.
Cocktail party at 12th and Longview?
We're driving in just a few minutes. We could give your friend a lift to town.
I hate to impose on you, but I would certainly appreciate that.
No trouble at all. Dr. McClure's having this party for a sister from Wichita.
I didn't know Dr. McClure had a sister in Wichita.
Oh, you know Dr. McClure?
No.
But
you're quite sure you have time to come into town with me, my dear?
I really couldn't, but thank you just the same.
Some other time, perhaps.
Thank you.
It's been very pleasant to meet you, and I hope to see you again soon.
Yes, so do I.
Goodbye, my dear. You can't miss Harvey. He's very tall. Like that.
Simmons woman is what called me. She refuses to admit to me that she has this big white rabbit. Insists that it's her brother. Give her 2 of these at 9 and another one at 10 if she continues to be so restless. Another trip to the hydrant room at 8 and one in the morning at 7. Then we'll see if she won't be so uncooperative that moment now.
Yes, doctor.
You know what to call me for you. Ready, pal?
Yes, Willie. And I will.
Yes?
There's a man here, a man named, let me see. Oh, here's his card. Dowd, I'll look it up.
That's Mrs. Simmons' brother, doctor. I told him to get out full visiting privileges.
She mustn't see anyone tonight. Not anyone at all. Tell him that.
Yes, doctor.
He didn't ask to see her. He was looking for someone. Some friend of his?
Who could that be, Dr. Sanderson?
I don't know, doctor.
He said it was someone he came out here with this afternoon.
Was there anyone down when you saw him, Miss Kelly?
No, doctor, not when I saw him. Well, he said there was. He said his friend was sitting in that chair there with his hat and coat. He seemed quite disappointed. Dr. Sanderson. I told him if he located his friend, we could give him a lift into town. He could ride a backseat. Was that all right, really?
Of course, of course.
Oh, here it is. I wrote it down on the back of this. His friend's name was Harvey. Harvey? He said something else about him, Puka, but I didn't quite get what that was.
Harvey!
He said his friend was very tall. Why are you looking at me like that? This is a very nice, very polite man. He merely asked that we give his friend a lift into town, and if we can't do a favor for someone, why are we living?
Mrs. Chumley, where did he go? Did he tell you where he was going?
Get me that hat! By George, we'll find out about this.
I don't know where he went just a second ago.
Main gate. Henry. Dr. Sanderson. Henry, did a man in a pink suit walk out from the gate a minute ago?
Gaffney. Judge Gaffney.
He did? He's gone!
Judge Gaffney, this is Dr. William Chumley, the psychiatrist. I'm making a routine checkup on the spelling of the name before entering it into our records. Judge, you telephoned out here this afternoon about having a time in yours committed. How's that name spelled? With a W, not a U. Mr. Elwood P. Dowd. Thank you, Judge. Dr. Sanderson, I believe your name is Sanderson.
Yes, doctor.
You know that much about you. You went to medical school, you specialize in the field of psychiatry, and you graduated and went forth. Perhaps they neglected to tell you that a rabbit has large pointed ears, and that a hat for a rabbit would need to be perforated to make room for those ears.
That seemed reasonable enough this afternoon,
Doctor, the function of a psychiatrist is to tell the difference between those who are reasonable and those who really talk and act reasonable. Kelly, get Wilson. Do you realize what you have done to me? You don't answer? I'll tell you. You have permitted a psychopathic case to walk off these grounds with an overgrown white rabbit. You have subjected me, a psychiatrist, to the humiliation of having to call of all things a lawyer to come down here and figure out who came out here to commit and who came out here to be committed.
Dr. Charlie,
Wilson, I will now have to do something that I haven't done in 15 years. I'll have to go after this patient, LOP down, and bring you back myself. And when I do bring you back, your connection with this institution will be ended as of that moment. Wilson, get the car. Pet, call the McClures and tell them we can't make it. Kelly, come upstairs with me and we'll get that woman out that I can tell.
Yes, doctor.
Don't tell them quickly. I'm actually furious. Wilson,
Yes, ma'am?
what is a puka?
A what?
A puka.
You can search me, Mrs. Johnny.
I wonder if it's in the encyclopedia over here. They have everything here. I wonder if it's a lodge or what it is. I don't dare do this now. Dr. Charlie won't want to find me still here when he comes down. He'll
P-O-O-K-A. Puka, from old Celtic mythology, a fairy spirit in animal form, always very large. The puka appears here and there, now and then, to this one and that at his own caprice. A wise but mischievous creature. The puka is very fond of rum pots, crack pots, and how are you, Mr. Wilson? How are you, Mr. Wilson? Yeah? Well, who in the encyclopedia wants to know? Ah, to hell with it.